Okay. Black Velvet, number 4. Copyright October the 18th, 2008. As the massive stretching forces on his spine intensified, Conquistador Bernard Ulrich Hertmans felt slightly uneasy. He'd been administered poison before and had survived. As he saw the dancing, leaping, cavorting snake maidens in the corner of his eye, he was more intent on the beauty of their bodies than on the deadly effects their ritual might do to his body and soul. It never occurred to him that becoming the next fleshly shell for the Mayan snake fertility goddess of the moon, Dianthes Ika, might not be good for his continuing conquering career. As a second-in-command of Pizarro's ragtag army of conquistador mercenaries, he thus, even when one of the snake women rushed up to him and roughly massaged his oiled chest, the massive itch on his skin following her none too gentle squeezing and binding and pinching of his skin did not elicit the terrified look of horror the masseur had expected. Perhaps this was because Bernard was firmly tied down to the platform. The transforming ritual victim tried to hiss through the gag. Okay. The ritual platform, his mouth gagged and could not see what the lady saw. Under the oil, the man's skin was darkening, turning drab olive greens, and red lines were appearing on it that were beginning to separate as layers of snake scales. The snake priestess continued feeling and caressing and could feel new ribs emerging under the rapidly transforming man. The snake priestess looked at the beam of moonlight that streamed from the moon and was playing on Bernardo's altering, mutating flesh. The clouds still obscured much of the moon's power, but the snake priestess knew once the clouds cleared, the hold of the snake goddess Dianthes on Bernardo's body would vastly increase and bring about an avalanche of changes to the bound conquistador mercenary. Bernard tried to look at the snake woman who hovered beside him. Then the moonlight suddenly intensified as the clouds parted. The transforming ritual victim tried to hiss through the gag as the painful changes multiplied 1,000-fold. The snake maidens stopped their chants and dancing and gathered to watch the snake goddess claim her next tool. The man began to perspire heavily as he felt the fire burn inside his spine, his belly, and his mind. It felt like a vice was squeezing in on his body in all directions as an unstoppable force stretched out his spine. The head snake priestess looked on in awe as Bernard's body thinned and lengthened. his thinning arms and legs shrank away and disappeared under his clothes and breeches. His face was violently thrust forward as it realigned to the tubular body the head was attached to. The snake's feminizing force, shrinking suddenly, pushed out into a snouty, grinning countenance of an anaconda snake. In a few minutes it was over, and the head priestess warned the other snake maidens to slowly back away from the long platform where the 35-foot-long female anaconda snake lay, lest either the presumed snake goddess made flesh or her new subject, the former mercenary turned conquistador, strike at its admirers. Bernardica lay rapidly panting, not yet aware that the bonds no longer could restrain her lengthy, slender, well-muscled form. The anaconda breathing finally began to slow down to a more regular pattern. The snake priestess began to speak to the snake from a safe distance, in a language Bernardica recognized, even though to humans' ears it sounded like nothing more than soft and loud hissing. The tale the priestess told to the snake was one of a conquistador who many centuries earlier had come to the land from across the ocean from where the sun rises, with other violent men of his kind. They had pillaged and ravaged the villages and cities and temples of the speaker's ancestors in search of gold. Then two of the snake's companions in her previous existence had betrayed Bernard, administering him a poison while they lay drinking and eating in the sacked temple of